keen to scoop up the full 45 marks for Edexcel IGCSE English Language Paper 1, Question 6 and 7. Not quite sure how to nail the tone when it comes to letters? Stay tuned. Get higher marks and grades with Schofield on Shakespeare.
The mark scheme is looking for the right tone, perceptive and subtle communication, extensive strategic vocabulary, and accuracy. Before looking at the task and writing your own letter, read through some examples. Think about how they begin and how they create an appropriately formal tone. You may like to jot down phrases that you can weave within your own letters. Press pause now. So here are the key features of letters. Read them through now. And so here's an exam style question. A museum is planning to open a new exhibition called Life in the 21st Century. Write a letter to the museum director explaining what items you think should be displayed and why. Why not have a go at writing this letter yourself? Go on, be cheeky. Be proactive. Press pause now to get going. Hopefully you've produced a really good response. However, I'm now going to show you the first sentence of every paragraph within my model answer. Consider and discuss how the tone is created, and think about how the initial idea might be developed in the rest of each paragraph. Go on then, press pause now. Now time to look at the model response as a whole. I write, Dear Dr. Wojcicki, further to the announcement about the new exhibition at the Tate Modern, I'm writing to propose 2 items for inclusion for this worthy initiative. Each item in its own way provides penetrating insight into the world in which we inhabit and would thus be illuminating for future generations. Item number 1, an Apple iPhone, exact model immaterial. I have no doubt that many other correspondents will have made exactly the same recommendation, and with good reason. The Apple iPhone has had an extraordinary influence upon the lives of 21st century teenagers and their parents, and neither generation would presume to leave their homes without it. Of course, the same might also be said of any smartphone, and companies such as Samsung and Xiaomi have also generated staggering profits from their customers. However, there is something about the iPhone which has become iconic, hence the existence of cult-like fan groups both online and attending company conferences. It's hard to put a finger on it, but factors include remarkably slick and hyper-cool advertising campaigns, instantly recognizable and unique interfaces, and related apps which ruthlessly tie the consumer into the brand, e.g. iCloud, iMusic, etc. The popularity of the iPhone tells us a great deal about 21st century life. Firstly, it shows us that a significant number of human beings prioritize online connections and experiences ahead of real-life interactions, a concept which would have been incomprehensible for the majority of the 20th century. Secondly, it provides an insight into today's individualistic society. If your handheld device reinforces all of your opinions and prejudices without the need to leave your room, why would you bother to open your ears to intelligent, dissenting human voices from elsewhere? Item number 2, a box of ADHD medication, preferably Ritalin. The 21st century has seen the rise of a number of different phenomena. For instance, social media is largely a 21st century initiative, whilst the concepts of incels and the manosphere are providing increasing challenges to parents and confused teenagers alike. However, this exhibition at the Tate Modern will need to include some physical items rather than endless screens in order to maintain the interest of future customers, who are likely to have even shorter attention spans than current generations, if this is indeed possible. Hence the box of Ritalin, 12 capsules, 40 mg dosage. Teenagers have always struggled to maintain perfect concentration levels. This is perfectly logical. If you know that you would prefer to be banging a football against a wall, it can be hard to remain focused on the subjunctive in French. However, the 21st century has seen an alarming medicalization of the normal, with hundreds of thousands of perfectly healthy teenagers across the world pumped with mind-altering powerful medication, as parents puzzle over their children's failure to achieve the highest academic grades. This is only one perspective, of course, and it fails to take account of the many young people who have genuine, debilitating difficulties with their focus and concentration, and for whom an ADHD diagnosis and accompanying medication can act as a lifesaver. Nonetheless, the proliferation of ADHD diagnoses tells us a great deal about modern life. It reveals the all-consuming pressures placed on teenagers to meet their parents' expectations, no matter the price or effect on their mental well-being. It provides an insight into the chronic oversimplification prevalent within today's world. If someone is struggling, there must be an immediate solution, which can be implemented quickly and efficiently. And finally, exposes the murky relationship between government institutions, including the NHS, and big business, which has become a hallmark of today's world. Namely, if there's money to be made, this will always be prioritized over morals and individual human beings. Conclusion. Many thanks for taking the trouble to read this letter. The new exhibition is a splendid initiative. I hope you would take these impassioned suggestions into consideration. With very best wishes, Christian. Before we dissect this model response, a splendid interlude, can you spot the spelling errors within these 3 sentences on screen? Press pause to get thinking. OMG! We aren't talking about some kind of building site, which would be SITE. Insight ends with GHT. Correspondence ending in CE refers to letters, not the writers of such letters. We need correspondence ending in TS. Oh, good Lord above. We aren't just talking about one diagnosis, but many. That's the whole point of this section of the letter. The plural version ends in SES. So let's unpick this letter paragraph by paragraph. Why does it achieve full marks? Well, as ever with these things, it needs to sound right from the very beginning. Letters need to have your address, shortened of course, right aligned, followed by the date. Think very carefully about whether you should write Dear Sir, Madam, or Dear, followed by a made-up name. In this particular case, you're writing to a museum director. It is very, very easy to find out any museum director's name. Simply look on the internet. So here I've written Dear Dr. Wojcicki. Introduction should be short and to the point. Why are you writing? I don't think subheaders are needed in every letter, but I think they are helpful in this case as they clearly spotlight the potential items to be included within the exhibition, something helpful for the reader to see at first glance. Notice that before explaining the particular reasons the iPhone should be included, I give a formal overview of the effect of the product. So many pupils can struggle slightly when it comes to determining whether an individual phrase is too colloquial or appropriate. The phrase, "it's hard to put a finger on it," sounds a little colloquial, but works here. It shows the museum director that I'm thinking deeply, both about my suggestions and what it is about them which means they should be included within the exhibition. Always remember the importance of accuracy in this part of the exam. Proofread after every single paragraph. Ensure that all sentences are controlled. Aim to use the full range of punctuation, including semicolons and colons, accurately. Of course, for GCSE English language, you do need to show off how well you write and your range of vocabulary. Notice words here such as incomprehensible, individualistic, dissenting. For this particular task, I do think it is better to explore a small number of potential items in intelligent detail rather than list or too briefly lots. So within this section, I lead up to my suggestion that a box of Ritalin would be a splendid addition to the exhibition by first implicitly ruling out some kind of naff social media display and some kind of weird homage to incels and the manosphere. Note also how I demonstrate a skillfully controlled overall structure with my short, grammatically incomplete sentence, hence the box of Ritalin, 12 capsules, 40 mg dosage. These responses should be lively, interesting to read, engaging. I achieve this in a number of ways, including the use of lively, carefully chosen verbs such as banging, pumped, puzzle. These responses also need to make some kind of pretense of balance. This is something I do here by reining back a little on my melodramatic pompous proclamations about the disproportionate rise of ADHD diagnoses. Remember, one side of the mark scheme looks for an ambitious range of sentence structures. This can be interpreted in many ways and acts as a reminder of the importance of incorporating not only complex sentences, but simple and compound as well. However, here, note how I vary the opening verb when giving 3 reasons about why this little box of ADHD medication should be included within the exhibition. Reveals, provides, exposes. Introductions matter the most, but conclusions matter too. Make sure you maintain the appropriate tone throughout. That said, conclusions can certainly be short for this kind of question and task. This has been a Schofield on Shakespeare production. Many thanks for watching.